Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Spotlight. Today we have Adam Holesha, who I reached out to because he is a Grandma Mojo's improv comic, but I did not realize I'd also seen you perform at an open mic night before. So I've seen you around before, but go ahead and introduce yourself. What are some of the important things you want the audience to know about you?
My name's Adam. This is my 5th semester being on Grandma Mojo's Moonshine Revival. That's the full name. Mm-hmm. We barely really use that anymore. We are Iowa State's premier improv troupe that performs every other Wednesday in the M Shop, which is in the MU. And this is actually our 3rd straight semester that we've also done an After Dark, which is really awesome. I mean, being in the Great Hall is really sweet. Otherwise, I'm a bowler. I'm on the Iowa State bowling team as well. Perform terrible covers of songs at open mic and occasionally terrible stand-up sets. So, yeah, I'm pretty much all over campus.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't know that is the performing at the After Darks like a new thing for you guys?
Yeah.
Or?
So we actually haven't had Mojo's do After Dark before 3 semesters ago, and I wasn't actually able to make that After Dark. But basically us being on that stage is kind of like a real big thing because, M Shop can hold like 100, maybe 120 people if they could add more chairs. But then Great Hall, it's like 250. Like we got over 200 this last semester, and I know that the Great Hall can go really far back, but it's just really cool seeing a bunch of people checking the show out and stuff like that because then we get a lot of new fans. And the way that I see it, the more the merrier.
I was going to say, because improv really works when you have an audience laughing with you. I cannot imagine like an empty audience.
They help the show go as much as we help the show go because, a lot of the stuff that we do is crowd-based. So, when we do a game, then obviously we have them give us a subject of the game. So we basically have to work with each other to make the show go smooth, which is really...
And you kind of know what the audience wants to hear. What kind of stuff.
Definitely.
And we'll get to more of the specifics in that later because I'm very curious on you. But what I think is particularly awesome about doing Great Hall shows is that you guys are kind of the opener for another normally comedian.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like... you guys are like the opening show, that gets the audience warmed up, and then this big dog comes out and does the stand-up. So I think
crazy.
that's such an honor.
Yeah, because I remember when we first did After Dark, we opened for Chico. I think he was one of the guys that did Wildin' Out. So we opened for him, and then last semester we opened for Joshua Wiseman, who's the TikTok chef, and then this time around Preacher Lawson. So kind of a little bit of a variety. I mean, Joshua Wiseman is just a hilarious chef.
Yeah. I've only seen him he does the Cody Ko and Noel Miller cooking. He's been on those videos a few times. I think that's the only reason why.
He's so funny.
He is fun, dude.
He's a real good chef too. Yeah. When I watched his performance in the Great Hall, and him saying how he's been in some of the top restaurants and stuff like that, it's really awesome to see that he's taking that experience into him being.
What did he do for his performance?
He made some pimped out ramen.
Is that what he called it?
Yeah, it was basically souped up ramen. He basically was just who in the crowd here likes Taco Bell a lot? And there was a guy in the front row, so he invited him upstage to cut the chives to put on the ramen that he made on the stage. And he did pretty well at cutting.
That would have been awesome. Cooking alongside him.
Oh yeah, it was sweet.
It's an obscure performance type of thing to do, but it kind of just goes to show that you can just go on stage and do anything, and as long as you have the charisma to make it work, then it's gonna work no matter what.
Definitely. Yeah.
No, I think that's so awesome. So you guys started doing Great Hall performances, but before then, would you normally just do the Wednesday performances? Is it every other week?
Yeah.
Or?
So we would do every other Wednesday. We would occasionally do some little things here and there. I know last semester we did Parents Weekend. And I want to say the semester before that, we've also done performances for the honor students of the Honor Society as well.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And way back when, I think maybe the semester before I started getting on, or at least before COVID hit, there was this thing called Improv of the Corn, which basically, ironic name, but basically it's a bunch of the colleges around Iowa would come together, I think in Des Moines, and they would basically have improv competitions almost. So,
oh, wow.
So we'd get University of Iowa, Drake, Ambrose, all those different colleges would come together, and then they'd have a competition based upon I don't really know exactly the basis of it, but it's a lot.
Yeah.
from what I remember.
That'd be, oh, dang. I wish you would have competed in that because that would have been cool to.
Oh, dude, that would have been so sweet.
So what is like a pre-performance pep talk for like improv look like when you're on stage and like you're about to go on? I mean,
Well, we have some pre-show rituals that we do, like that we always do. We do this thing called Bunny Bunny. And so basically what we do is we all stand in a circle, and then we put our arms in and out of a circle, and then we do bunny, 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 bunny towards someone across the way. And then it's basically like making sure that you have like good eye contact with them. And so we do that, and it's like, hoo, ha, hoo, ha. And we're all in a circle, and then we freak out and we yell, and then we like do this weird thing with our hands and feet. And then we all hug each other after the show, and then we chill up in the green room until the show starts.
Is there a fire in the middle of the bunny bunny?
We haven't done that yet. Hopefully in the future, that would be pretty sweet.
You guys actually have like a seance before.
Oh, yeah.
before every performance. But no, that's cool. I imagine that gets you guys juiced up pretty good before a
definitely.
show.
It's a good thing to get the blood flowing, because it takes a lot to actually like do it. I mean, we're throwing each other across the stage. So
oh yeah, and
it gets physically taxing sometimes. I mean, we've had people get injured, quote unquote.
I mean, that's enough though.
Yeah.
Improv's a contact sport. I mean, it's a whole thing. No, because I remember. I think the most impressive thing for me is because when I did improv in high school, I did it for 4 years for speech. But that was only like practice once a week, and then like a performance, and that was only for a couple months.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine doing improv like semester long and just constantly stretching those muscles. I mean, it's almost like a workout to.
It is.
It's the gauntlet of of improv. I mean, how do you get through that?
It's the one thing that's kept me in shape. 'Cause I haven't touched the gym in God knows how long. But we practice twice a week. So I mean, we have that going, and so we practice the games, and we make sure that everyone who's going to be in it is like in it specifically, so that we know and we're not like fumbling around before the show starts and stuff like that. I mean, we have had to do it before. Or I think earlier this semester we had one of the Mojos. They like pulled a muscle in their leg right as we were warming up. So we had to like on the fly be like, okay, so this person's in this game. Who wants to take their place? I will. Okay, cool. We know how the game works. So
Okay.
we could do it on the fly, but like we make sure that we have like lists in our pockets and stuff.
Okay, I was gonna ask about that because I watched your guys's the late night or the After Dark.
Yeah.
I watched you guys' After Dark performance recently, and I thought that was really good. But I always wondered like, how do you guys decide like who does what? So is that just like a draw of the hand thing, like who wants to do it, or is it like you're particularly good at this specific kind of game, so we think you should do it, or how does that?
It's more or less like a balance. I mean, we try to have, when we do a show, we have everyone bits where everyone's going to be participating, like the freezes or like the backline games or something like that. But if we're going to have like an individual, like a 2-person or 3-person game, then we want to try to balance it out between people. So we want to have everyone do like 1 or 2 games a show when we do it on every other Wednesday. I mean, obviously After Dark's a little different because, I mean, we only have an hour. Mm-hmm. So if we could try to get people in like one individual game where it's not everyone, then it would be nice to just balance it out. But there's no real like, people specialize in a certain thing. We kind of just try to balance it out so that we all have good experience in specific games that we do.
Oh, okay. Because I always thought, especially with improv, because, I mean, I couldn't imagine just getting thrown into something like, you have no expectation of, what you're comfortable with doing and then you just get thrown in. But the balancing does work. And I think that everyone was pretty balanced during the show. So
definitely.
So you guys practice 2 times a week and that includes the performances.
Yes.
Like every week. So, I mean, you do like 5 hours of improv a week?
So we practice 2 hours every Monday and Wednesday. So we go from 8 to 10. And we basically do that, and it's a lot because we have to basically the Monday before a show we basically try to run through the entire thing to make sure that everything's paced out well, and that there's not one half that goes longer than the other one because it's happened in the past where we have a game that goes a lot longer. So we've had to either make games shorter or even cut games out of the show completely. So it's all about trying to find that good balance of everyone has a certain amount for each game so that we can get everything going as much as we want to.
No, it seems pretty calculated, which is what I appreciate because, like I've said, with my improv experiences, it's pretty hectic and pretty chaotic when it comes to people doing things on stage. So it's good to hear that it's pretty organized. But, I mean, how do you come up with? I mean, it's almost like you're coming up with 6 hours of material every week. I mean, do you guys end up reusing stuff or? How does that end up working?
Well, sometimes we have. I mean, it's rare, but it has happened where some of the bits that we do for a game in practice do slightly better than the show, and we're just like, oh man.
It's like,
this
no.
would have been so much better if we had a crowd just dying laughing for this.
Instead of just us in a room.
Well, but some of the characters that we've had in games, we have this game that's good, bad, worse. And so basically we have 3 people in chairs, and we have the crowd ask questions about something that they're dealing with, and we try to give good, bad, and really bad, or worse, or drunk, or whatever the last guy is. They give like that type of advice to the person. So some of the characters that we've had for the worst guy have come from practice. Like my guy that I do, Protein Jones, that brewed from practice, and everyone's just like, "Oh, you better do this for the show." Everyone's going to lose their mind.
Does it kill when you're doing it?
And I did that for Parents Weekend, and I could just see everyone just like staring me in the soul, like, what is this guy doing?
What is this guy on right now?
Yeah.
Wait, so how do you tailor a show specifically for Parents Weekend? Because I feel like that should be kind of a different show than when you're doing it at the MU.
We went into that being like, okay, we're gonna try to keep the swears to a low. But then as we made our way onto, I think we were in the green room, and then we made our way on stage, and we were just like, there's no kids here. We could just let loose. It's just like a normal show. Yeah.
It's just a normal show with adults.
It's a normal show with adults critiquing it.
Yeah. I know. I feel like that would be an equally stressful and like hand-picked situation to be in because, like I said, me doing improv with buddies versus me doing improv in front of my own parents is a completely different, different version of myself than I feel like I would be comfortable doing.
Oh yeah, and I've never had a family member actually see my show, whether that be here or back home where I started.
Oh, okay, so you're kind of skirting by.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it just feels weird, my parents seeing their innocent son doing this crazy stuff on a stage.
Yeah, saying these things that make you wonder, like, how did my kid come up with that?
Where did it go wrong?
Is that my fault that he's like that? No, it's super fun. So, what I think the thing that I'm most interested in about is kind of like the different types of people doing comedy and just the different types of comedy in general.
Yeah.
Do you think that there are different types of like humor? Like there are different styles. So like,
100%.
You might vary from a different person on the team.
100%. Yeah. I've done stand-up as well. And, trying to, make jokes for a crowd is so much different for stand-up versus improv. So I give a lot of credit to people that do stand-up because I've done stand-up a handful of times, whether that be here, opening for people, or back home. There's a lot to where you have to like basically tailor what you say to a specific crowd. But there's definitely different styles of improv for all the people that we currently have on the troupe and then people that we have had on the troupe. And so me personally, at least, I started off, and I've never taken an improv class before. Basically, everything that I've done is basically a little bit of every person that I've ever performed with. Okay. So I kind of take that, and I use that experience from everyone else because there's people that have done improv 4 years of high school, or they've taken improv classes, or they've gone to these really big places to actually learn about how to do it. So I'm trying to be like a big sponge, just soaking up all the improv information.
Collecting all of the...
Exactly, yeah. So that's why I'm always appreciative of like just getting new experiences with new people because it gives me a new view of how people actually want to attack certain games or like certain aspects of improv.
So where do you think you if you were to try to describe like your style of improv and your style of comedy, who do you compare it to? Like what kind of?
I try to be really straightforward with it. And I feel like it's more, if I were to compare it to a comedian currently, I would say probably like Sebastian Maniscalco, where it's just really like, you know, in your face about it. It's a lot of like real life stuff that I do whenever I do stand up, and it's just crazy things where I'm like loud and I'm staring people dead into the soul. And I'm just getting my point out, and then I just go from there. So
it's like a stern kind of stand up.
yeah,
like,
exactly.
Okay, I love that. No, that's awesome. And then what would you say you do for like improv? Where do you kind of? Because I know for me specifically, I'm the kind of jokester. When it comes to improv, it's talk until it's funny.
Yeah.
And so that like it's kind of low risk, low reward, kind of like pushing the story along. Where some people are more like, I'm going to say something. If it's really funny, it's going to kill. If it's not funny, it's going to be really awkward.
Yeah.
So like, I guess, what kind of improv person do you tend to be?
You know, we try to avoid basically doing like a one-off joke for a full scene and then just trying to base it off of that. But when I started doing improv, that was exactly what I did. It was literally just one-liner jokes that I did, and that got the attention of people who wanted me to do the show more. And so basically having that, I've tried to lend myself more to like not having a joke and then just being like, okay, what else do I say after this?
Yeah.
But more or less, I've learned to like be like, if I say something, throw it at the wall and see if it sticks.
Okay.
Because like, you know, we're gonna have jokes that don't like do well on a show, and that's the thing with improv, is that it's just really random. We don't know what to expect. We don't know what kind of subject we're gonna do for a game. So it's more or less just like, okay, if I say this, is the crowd gonna laugh? If they don't laugh, so be it.
Yeah. Move on.
Yeah.
Move
Exactly.
on. Yeah. Because I feel like improv is a recovery game more than it is
definitely.
like a joke game.
Yeah.
It's just like, how do you keep trucking forward after just bombing?
Oh, yeah.
Because that would be hard. That was the hardest part, is just like saying something and then expecting it to do really well, and then it's just crickets. It's just completely done.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. So then when it comes to writing a stand-up set, what's your process on that? Is it just like taking the things that you've lived through and then kind of like writing it in a funny way, or?
100%. Yeah. And I've lived through some crazy stuff back home in Illinois. Illinois is just nuts.
Why?
There's just like, you know, when I came to Iowa, I was expecting like there to just be nothing. Mm-hmm. And because I'm about an hour south of Chicago back home, and so there's a lot of stuff that we can do and a lot of stuff that we deal with. And there's like just a lot of people that we talk to and stuff, and there's a lot of things to do. So taking those experiences of things that I have done, like, and putting it towards a stand-up set, because it's absolutely hilarious. Stuff that's happened to me in the past. It's more or less just trying to take that and turn it into something light, because like, did it suck for me? Yes. Is it funny for everyone else? Also, yes. Yeah. So I try to make light of weird stuff that happens.
Give me like one example of the Illinois life.
Yeah. So basically, in my life, I've never broken a bone.
Okay.
Right. But this is going to be really weird. I've had a surgery where one of my boys twisted.
Oh my God.
And living through that.
That is a nightmare.
Yes. The worst pain any man could ever experience. It is so bad.
How on earth did that happen?
Bowling in jeans.
No way, dude.
And I guess what happened was I just like abruptly stopped, and my one guy was just like, okay, let's just twist around here.
Your form is too magnificent.
Yeah. So basically, I got home from bowling, and there was just a crescendo of pain until I just couldn't bear it anymore, and they drove me to the hospital. They did an ultrasound, which, God, that jelly is cold. Holy smokes, dude. And
I've never heard of an ultrasound on a dude before, by the way.
I've had two.
What?
They thought I had
one for each one?
No, they thought I had appendicitis years before that, and they also did an ultrasound on me. Luckily, they didn't find a kid.
Yeah.
Which would have been crazy.
Just Illinois things, I guess.
Oh, yeah, just Illinois things. Yeah. But yeah, so the month after that surgery, I was basically walking around with a mango between my legs.
Bro.
It was bad. I was literally walking around like a cowboy.
What did you say at school? How old were you when this happened, by the way?
So this was November 2017. So this was my first semester at community college.
Oh, okay. Dang. Let's say you would have been the talk of the town if you were if you were walking with a sling, on your nuts.
Oh, yeah.
Like, sorry, I just get around too hard. There's nothing I can do about it.
That was a rough month, dude.
Dang,
it was
dude.
so bad.
What do you even do about that? I mean, on a day-to-day, like, you just, like, put it in a wheelchair and then...
Well, I just sat back like this all day, and everyone's just like, what the hell's wrong with him? And I'm just like, don't look at me. I'm in pain, bro.
Yeah, tell him I got reduction.
Yeah.
Had to get reduction surgery. This is born too big, I guess.
Oh, man.
No, that's good, man.
It sucked so bad.
No, that's awesome, dude. I think stand-up is hard, though, and, like, it's a whole new beast. And like you were talking about with that adaptability of, like, trying to read the audience and seeing what... Yeah. I think that's what I struggled because I've done 2 stand-up sets at the MU. And the first one doesn't count because the first one I had my buddies write me a stand-up set and I was like, make it the worst stand-up set you've ever heard. Like, I want to bomb on stage. Some of the most horrific. I'll give you some if you want. But dude, it was so funny, but like, so bad.
Is everyone here all right? Well, you're all left now.
No, dude, I had my butt. So I want to tell this joke so bad because it's so funny. I
can't wait for this.
My friend, well, I sent it to some of my buddies who was like, I know you can write me something horrific.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was walking home reading this stuff and I was a psycho laughing to myself because I knew that I'd be saying this on stage and it'd be so bad. Here's one of the opening lines of the set. So you know those toy dispensers at the restaurants where you put in a quarter and then you get like a toy or something? Imagine you put a quarter in and then you become Rick and Morty.
Okay.
Dude, it was...
Pause.
Dude. That's exactly what... So my buddy told me that he came up with that because somebody said that to him. Like, somebody said that joke to him and was like, this is funny enough to have come out of my mouth. And that set the tone for the whole performance because it wasn't even comedy. It was just a performing arts thing. One, it killed, first off, because I think the audience, it's the most accepting audience on the planet.
Yeah, but it's so bad it's good.
Yeah, and I think they kind of caught on after like every joke was so bad that they had to laugh, otherwise it would be horrific.
Yeah.
My other favorite one was I said there were stage directions in this, by the way, that I had to follow as well. But it was did you know that if you really try, even if you really try, you can't lick your elbow. And so then I have to try to lick my elbow. And then I have to point to somebody and be like, hey, you try, lick your elbow. And then the funny thing is I can lick your elbow and then I have to stare at them for like 30 seconds. And I had a guy, and I did it to a girl, and I had the guy next to her was like, nope, no, don't do that.
Definitely not.
Don't do that one. But for the other one, I did a normal one. And then what I found was that I didn't have any room to change jokes or like tailor them. I kind of just memorized a script and then performed it.
Yeah.
And so some things didn't hit, but I still just kept going on with it because like I didn't have anything else. So I really need to get used to that adaptation because you'll just die on stage if you don't have any room.
Yeah, it's it is a different demon compared to improv. I mean, when I started doing stand-up back home the first time, I was basically like thrown into the middle of it. Like, we were having this special with our troupe that I have back home, and it was like all the improvisers do 5 minutes. And I was just like, okay, what am I supposed to do? What could I make a joke out of? Because I didn't like practice it in front of anything. So I was just like, is this going to be funny? Okay, let's see if it works. Didn't work.
Oh, see, that's the thing though. Everyone is, birthing from ashes of like that one set that they did that was so bad. And then they learned from it. But I would love to see your first set.
I don't know about that, dude. It was that bad.
So did you really just like raw dog, or did you have like ideas of what you wanted to do?
It was like a half raw dog.
Okay.
Like a partial dog. Yeah.
It ripped a little, but you still tried.
Bit. And it was weird because it was like this weird like summer festival that we were having. So I was incredibly sunburnt going into the set, but they also gave me these really short shorts for some reason. They were pink and they were like mid-thigh, maybe. And so the whole time that I think we were at like a vacation somewhere, everything below my kneecap was starting to become tan. And then everything from my kneecap to where the short shorts ended was just pasty as heck. And then like the pants were pink, so I literally looked like Neapolitan ice cream on my leg.
They should have put you in just a weird shirt.
Oh, dude.
Just like you might as well have gone all out or whatever.
Yeah,
That'd have been good. That'd have been good, dude. Wait, so tell me your story for like when you started doing like comedy and improv. Like, how did you get into this?
Yeah, so it's actually going to be pushing 6 years this summer since I started. So we have this place back home in Illinois. It's this place called the Ashbury Coffee House. It's basically a coffee store, but in the attic, there's a stage with a place that could seat like 50 to 60 people. So I had a group of friends that were just like, hey, you want to check out this improv show? And I'm like, okay. I mean, I've never seen or like tried improv before, but we'll check it out. And so I go to the show. I thought it was fantastic. I really loved it. And then, so they stopped going eventually just because they were doing some other stuff. And I kept on going after that because I just really was enjoying myself. And so at the end of the night, after every single show, the last game that they play is basically like an open audience thing. So if you've seen, I mean, you were at After Dark, so we did the joke off game. At the end. Mm-hmm. So it was basically like a competition of one-liners. That last game, Sex With Me, that's the entire game at the coffee house back home. So they open it up to the crowd, and then they can go up on stage and say the jokes. So I was doing a bunch of those. I was doing a bunch every week. And so, because that one was every Thursday, we'd have a show at that show. So I would go up there, and I'd say a couple of one-liner jokes, and then this one guy who happened to know some people like Second City and stuff. So like the big time comedy improv places. He was just like, hey, you know, you've been doing these jokes in our game a bunch. How about you come and try doing some of the games during the show? And I'm like, sure. So I went into that having no improv experience before, never did it in high school. Like I maybe watched a little bit of Whose Line Is It Anyways, but otherwise, basically up until me joining Mojo's, everything that I've learned about improv is from those people at that show. So yeah, it's just one of those things, and it just kind of grew since then.
And so you've been doing the improv from there. That's kind of where you started at your hometown. And then when did it start turning into like going to open mic nights and doing like stand up and singing and stuff?
Yeah.
Did that just happen?
So at the show that we have back home, we have 2 local comics go before the improv. So if there's a person that's a designated host for that show, they'll do like 5 minutes up top and maybe a little bit in between each of the comics. But they have that 5-minute set, and then they introduce the first guy, do a little something, and then they introduce the second guy, and then the improv actually happens. So we tried to balance it because some of the guys that did the show, this is actually 20 years since that show started. And there's still people that have done it since the beginning that go to that show still.
Oh, wow.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So
veterans.
Yeah. So when they were having like stuff that they had in their life, like one of the guys was like doing bits in like scenes and shows and stuff like that. And people were doing like SoundCloud rap and stuff like that, which
pretty normal, pretty standard
stuff. They're trying to do that and stuff. And one of them was like a school teacher. One of them was working at another school. So when people didn't show up, they wanted us to like have that experience of hosting a show, doing some stand-up before the actual comics get on, just to warm the crowd up a little bit, and then go from there. So I probably did it about 7 or 8 times before I came here to Iowa State.
Dang, yeah. So you had some practice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So did you do like the same set every time, or were you coming up with new material?
New material every single time.
Dang, man. Yeah. So you really have. I mean, so you're an engineering major, right?
Mechanical engineering.
So how does this like fit in? Like, were you just like kind of a funny kid, and then you liked doing stuff like this, and then it just kind of naturally festered in you? Did you ever wanted?
I'd make people laugh about dumb jokes in like high school and stuff, and I never really translated to like, okay, do I want to like do improv or do I want to do stand up? So it was more or less just like going to the show and then being like, okay, maybe I can do this, and then it just kind of evolved into what it is now.
That's super awesome. I mean, you have a good experience like with doing stuff like this. That's really cool. And then you brought this. So then, how did you get into Grandma Mojo's? Like, how did that transition happen?
Yeah. So my first semester at Iowa State was the COVID semester, so spring of 2020. And so I went to Improv Club, which is a thing that they have every Sunday. And that's a place where you could like learn the fundamentals of what improv is. One of the people that I met on my floor in my dorm knew one of the Mojos that was on the troupe at the time. And then he told me about where Improv Club was. And then through Improv Club is where I learned about when the Mojo's tryouts was. So my first 2 semesters on the troupe was with masks, which sucked.
Total booty. Yeah.
Yeah. And then everything after that has just been, what it is now. So it's, finding out through some of the Mojos and some of the other people that, I'd go to the shows. I mean, it's only $1 every other Wednesday, which is really awesome. But like I'd go to that, and then I basically learned about when tryouts was. I'd go to that, and then I made it the second time that I tried out, which was really awesome.
Okay, that was what I was going to ask next. That's actually super cool. So then I kind of want to get back to the shows you would do in Illinois and that local venue. So what were some of the things that you learned? Like, what are some of the lessons in improv that you kind of still use today?
Okay, so let me give you a brief rundown of what this place looked like, right? So this is the second floor of a coffee shop. The entire stage is an 8 foot by 8 foot square in the corner of a room.
It's tiny.
It's dinky. Yeah. It's really small. So when I started doing improv here, I was really like stationary, and I didn't have a lot of movement because the years that I was doing it back home, I didn't have a lot of free space to move around. So basically doing the show back home, anything goes. Like you could say whatever the hell you wanted, and it just went. So we would do some crazy stuff at that show. And I've brought some of the games that we've played at that show to Mojo shows that we've done that are just straight like inspiration from games that we've done back at the coffee shop improv. But basically, yeah, so it's a really tiny square stage, about 50 or 60 people, and there's just insanity that happened during the show. Like, we would make it a regular occurrence to chuck a folding chair out the window.
Bro, what?
Yeah, literally. Like, right before the improv started, one of the guys would literally just peel open the window, take a folding chair, and just be like...
So was it like
chuck it out?
Was it like who gets to chuck out the chair today, like in each show, or was there one guy who was his thing?
It was mostly one guy who just did it.
And kind of wanted to make it work.
And they barred it off, but we still found a way to throw chairs out of it.
that's a pretty unique experience to have, like at an improv show. So I guess what are some of the rules, like if you were to talk about your experience and your growth doing comedy in general, what are some of like the rules that you've established? Like, okay, don't do this kind of thing, or like, make sure that I am watching my blank. You know what I mean? Like, so what are some of the things that you figured out?
So, compared to Mojo's, what we're supposed to do in Mojo's is number 1, don't negate, don't say no. Mm-hmm. You have to keep the scene going. Number 2, don't bring a gun.
Mm-hmm. Big rule.
We've sort of broken that this semester. I won't say who. You know who you are. Anyways, and number 3 is try to build the scene as well as you can by doing whether it be a character, designate the person that you're doing the scene with as a person and a name and a setting. However, at the show that I did back home, regular no is a negation, regular guns, regular murder, and just whatever the hell happened. So it took me a minute to like learn the fundamentals that the Mojo set. And so, but man.
Do you think that those fundamentals exist for a reason? Like they do a good job of keeping the show under 100%. Control?
And I have to give props to the guys back in Illinois because like when you have an 8x8 stage and you still do a 2-hour show, like with that, it's so tippable because of the fact that they're able to do 2 hours worth of improv in a room that small with like a little space. And then like we have like a soundboard that actually works at that place. And I learned how to work the soundboard. So I would like cue music before a stand-up started or before improv started and stuff like that. So it's just learning the fundamentals compared to like what we did there because like I'd be doing improv with people that were like 30 years old. Mm-hmm. So it's just a completely different demon.
You can't even lay down on an 8-foot stage.
Oh,
like,
no.
I mean, like the whole scene has to be standing or on your knees. Like there's no movement. I couldn't even imagine being on an 8-foot stage.
Oh, dude, I'm 6'2". I could basically reach the front row from the wall.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
To do 2 hours on an 8-foot stage, you would basically just be doing 2 hours of stand-up with another person for 2 hours.
It's absolutely insane.
It'd have to be all just like vocal and like verbal.
It's a lot of vocal and verbal, and I feel like that kind of taught me the, building and like actually progressing a scene more there. But then Mojo's taught me how to add physicality to it because we have big space. Uh-huh. We have a lot of room on that stage, and it's basically the same as open mic. Like it's the same size stage. So having that much room and that much more space to actually like do stuff and like ragdoll across the stage. We can't do that or else we're in the front row.
Yeah, we're in the audience with them.
We're in the audience there. So it's been a weird transition to like actually do physicality as opposed to just standing still and doing verbal stuff and mostly just stuff with our hands. But now we could use our feet. So
yes,
that was a big thing for me.
Could not imagine being on an 8-foot stage trying to do the stuff you guys did on just the show that I watched. And that I don't think that was a super physical episode. Mm-hmm. So are there certain subjects or topics that ISU students like really click onto? Like, do you guys communicate like with each other after set and be like, okay, this is the kind of stuff that we should do, here's the kind of stuff that doesn't really work?
Yeah.
Or do you guys are all out there for yourselves?
Yeah, so after every show, we do this thing called Roses and Thorns. Basically, we go around the room, and we go by each Mojo, and they all give their critiques on the show. And then after everyone has their turn giving critiques, then they say what has been good about the show. And we always make it a rule that we're supposed to have more roses than thorns. Like more good than bad. So what we do is, like, we've caught on to things that always get the crowd riled up. Mostly anything that talks smack about the University of Iowa, because everyone hates the University of Iowa.
Good rule.
And everyone loses their shit whenever we say, like, something bad about the university. They're always on us for that, and they're always like super riled up. So, but man, is there like a lot of like sex jokes and stuff like that. And I used to be like really bad with potty humor, like farts and poop and stuff. But
the classics.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the classics. Does it still get laughs? Yeah, but we've tried to, or at least me, I've tried to like lend myself off of that because I used to do that like almost solely back home.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's pretty low hanging fruit, but that's because it kind of works.
Pun entirely.
Yeah. Yes. So, do you guys have rules that you have to abide to, like campus wise, like things you're not allowed to say on stage, like as far as the university goes, or are you guys pretty free on that kind of stuff?
I guess don't be racist.
Yeah, that probably works pretty well.
Yeah. So, I don't really know if we have stuff that we're physically not allowed to say except for that. Like, have we talked smack about places on campus? Absolutely. Have we talked smack about professors? Absolutely. Have we talked smack about classes? Oh, you bet your sweet ass we did.
Yeah. When don't we?
Oh,
When
yeah,
is
for
it
sure.
not mentioned?
Yeah, because there's a lot of people in the crowd that know like certain classes are just terrible, or like certain people
Just
are just
common sense that
Oh, yeah.
calc is ass. Like,
oh
that's
yeah,
just how it is.
Calc sucks.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah. As an engineering student, I mean, you understand it. So,
Don't remind me, man. I took up the Calc 3. That's enough Calc for me, dude.
dude, that's enough calc for 10 lifetimes. I mean,
God.
I'm taking Math 140 right now because I'm a psych major, which isn't a real major, pretty
Yeah.
much. So I'm taking Math 140, and man, does that make me feel stupid because it is so worth 60% of our first exam was putting something into point slope form, given the slope and a point and the y-intercept.
I should write this
Yeah, it was seriously like I laughed out loud when I read that because it's like choose 1 out of 3 questions, do that one, worth 60% of your exam grade. I was like, oh my gosh.
Man.
Oh, that class makes me laugh. But I actually am a little curious. So I actually did want to talk to you about your singing and your instruments and your music and your music background. So you play 5 instruments?
Yes, I play 5 different instruments. So
Give me 'em.
I play guitar, bass, jaw harp, which is a really cool one, keyboard / piano, and then I used to play French horn as well.
Dude, French horn gang.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. Wait,
sir.
okay. So then, was French horn in high school? And
French
then,
horn was in high school, actually middle school before high school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You don't bring that out of the school system. Eh?
No.
You
I
don't bust the French horn out of the party.
I don't have a French horn. And my dad he played band in high school as well, which is really cool because he has a silver clarinet,
Dang.
which is really sweet looking.
Pimpin'.
Oh yeah. It's
Bring
so
that
cool.
to a party for
yeah.
sure. Yeah.
That's a conversation starter right there for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I learned guitar from high school. We had a class called History of Rock and Roll where we learned how to do like basic chords and stuff. And so for Christmas that year, my mom got me a guitar for Christmas. And the bass, I have a bass that was from my grandpa after he passed away back in 2009. And so I basically have taught myself how to play bass entirely from YouTube videos or whatever. And then keyboard, that was because my favorite band of all time is Rush. And the lead singer, he would do keyboard, bass, foot pedals, which is basically like a foot keyboard, and sing all at the same time. So that made me want to do like more keyboard stuff where I could learn songs and then also play bass if I really wanted to. Now the jaw harp.
What is that?
Okay.
Briefly explain what that even looks like.
So if you've seen a really old cartoon and you've heard like a sound effect that was like boing, that's the instrument that does it.
Oh, wow. Okay,
So
yeah.
it's a little metal bar. It's like there's a bar like this, and then it goes around, and then there's a really thin metal bar in the middle. You put it up to your mouth, and then you flick it. And then your mouth like amplifies the sound that it makes, but you have to make sure that your teeth aren't closed because that will shred your teeth.
Yeah. Dude.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? Why do you play it?
So we have a music store back home in my hometown. I was in there one day and I saw one. They had like a box full of them and they were like $5. I was like, sure. So I just gave the guy $5 and walked out with a jaw harp, and then I learned how to play it.
That is such a funny, like, just for the meme.
Yeah.
For the meme instrument.
It is.
So would you rank your musical instruments like in that order? Guitar, bass, keyboard, jaw harp, and then French horn?
I would put bass over guitar.
Okay, so you're probably a better bassist than you are a guitarist.
Definitely a better bassist.
Okay.
Yeah. 100%.
No, I thought your guitar playing was awesome.
Thank you.
On the night that I saw you do open mic night, I can't remember what songs you sang. One of them, I had heard it before, but you went to the front of the stage and clapped and encouraged everyone.
SOB.
SOB. Yes,
I love that song.
Your singing was really good. Your guitar playing was really good. I think the thing that frustrated me is that I think your guitar was out of tune.
Ooh.
And so
I think it was more or less just I forgot how to play it.
Really?
Because I was playing so fast. I got fat fingers. So trying to like finagle my fingers around the chords just sucked.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, because I think what the thing is like your singing was so good and the strumming was clean, the pattern was clean, but it just sounded off.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if it was just like out of tune, but you know, it like.
Actually, yes, it was. And I think it was because I have a capo, which is something that I could put on a guitar to make it higher and stuff. But for the first song that I played, that is tuned a half step down. So everything's tuned down a half note.
Oh.
So that's probably why. I may have forgot to put it on before I started the song. So
I really think
so I was just flat.
Yeah, because I play guitar and like you could just tell that like you were playing it right. There was just something about like the instrument that just was not working.
Yeah.
And it sucked because it's like I really want to see you sing again.
Yeah.
Because it's like you did a really good job.
Thank you.
But I just feel like God kind of struck you down on like the full breadth of your performance because of just the guitar on
the one
that.
thing that I forgot was to put the capo on.
So I really
the guitar didn't match my voice.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking and I've heard the songs before, so I know it wasn't like you singing badly. Like you know what I mean? Like I knew you were singing well. It was just like the guitar, but I really did enjoy watching you play. So, do you just like do that on your own time? Do you just play guitar and sing and stuff?
Yeah, I play guitar on my own time. Basically, it's just if I have a song that I think is really cool, then I'll learn the chords for it. Like there's a website where they have the tabs and they'll play it out, so you could follow that. And then there's also people like on YouTube that'll give you like a video tutorial,
like rundown of the song.
And I did that mostly for bass because I mean some of the stuff that like Rush plays is ridiculous how hard it is.
Yeah, I know. I think with I like Rush. I like Madrigal. I think that's a good song. It's a really pretty song. Limelight is classic.
Oh yeah,
pretty fun.
Madrigal.
So
you're the first person outside of my family that actually knows that song.
So I'll admit something to you. Do you know?
Is it because of because of Ninja Sex Party?
Oh my God. Those words. Dude, we're going to make out after this camera turns off. I cannot believe you understood what I was talking about. That's so awesome, dude.
That's for Spotlight After Hours.
I was going to say, subscribe to the Patreon if you want to see Adam and I make out after the show. But, dude, that's so awesome. Yeah, their version of that song is fantastic.
Because Danny's a really big fan of Rush.
They have a Rush song on every album that they do. Are you a big NSP fan?
I used to be really big. I haven't been big on them as recent, but oh my God, is that funny?
Oh yeah, dude, they're I think my favorite band of all time. Like
Sweet.
they do a good job. That's so cool, dude.
Dude,
but yeah,
another one of those meme bands, Tenacious D.
Jack Black is one of the most incredible slept-on singers.
People need to like respect how good he is at singing, dude.
It's one of the, you could just tell that he's itching to sing because in every movie that he's in, he'll just throw in a little singing thing. Like in Nacho Libre, no reason for him to pull out a guitar and sing.
I've seen that movie about 100 times. I have the DVD for that, and oh my God, every single time we watch it, we find something new.
Dude, Tenacious D is probably like my definitely top 5 favorite bands. They're and they had Dave Grohl drumming for them on one of their albums.
He was the devil.
Yeah, and he was the devil, but beyond that, they had him drumming one of their albums.
Yeah.
And it's just like and the thing is they can write the most just horrible lyrics.
Oh yeah.
But like sound so objectively gorgeous while doing it that like I don't understand how they're not bigger than they are.
Yeah.
I'll say it.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I've seen Jack Black do covers and stuff, and like he'll do a really good job, but then he'll also add his Jack Black stank to it.
Yeah. Yeah, where he's just like making noises like like he just ends every song. Oh my God, he's incredible. I'm so glad you brought up Tenacious D.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Vinny and I were talking about it before our episode.
The D.
The D. Yeah, dude. I'm a huge Da Vinci's Notebook, if you've heard of them.
I have no.
You've probably heard Enormous Penis. I take a look at my enormous penis. That's them.
I thought that was the name of the band.
No.
Like,
You know Enormous Penis. I mean, we all know the band.
There's one that's a band called Butthole Surfers. They have a song that they actually play on the alternative radio station sometimes.
On The Cure?
On no, Back Home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they had a song called Detachable Penis.
Butthole Surfers.
Butthole Surfers.
What's the NSP wanted to do a song called, was it Surfing for Puss and the Tide is High?
Everybody, shut up! I have an erection.
One of the like greatest like another one that they're gonna do was Can't Stop, Won't Stop, Might Stop. Such a
We
funny,
might think about stopping.
Yeah. We'll consider it. Dude, yeah, I'm so glad you know. So glad you're educated on the comedy bands.
Definitely.
But so what other music do you listen to?
Oh, I'm I used to be solely classic rock. My dad is like, he knows songs and bands that I would like never imagine.
Like knowing who they are, or
Knowing who they are, knowing like the deep cuts of bands that they'll never play on the radio, like Eagles songs that you would never hear on the radio, or like Deep Purple or Cream or a bunch of these classic rock bands. And so I would listen to the alternative radio station, and that got me big into bands like Young the Giant, Incubus, AWOL Nation, Royal Blood, who is criminally underrated, by the way.
Royal Blood.
Royal Blood. They're a two-man band from London. It's a bassist and a drummer, and the bassist actually runs his bass through a guitar amp and a bass amp, so it's loud.
I have never heard of that duo, by the way.
So good, dude.
I'll have to
my
check it
God.
out.
It is intense, and like back when they released their first album back in 2014, every single time they did a performance, whether that be on like Howard Stern, they've performed on Howard Stern, or this radio station that was in LA. Literally the whole time, it's like, how can two people make that much noise?
How
It's
can they be
so
this
good,
loud?
dude. Yeah, so a lot of that, and then I was really big on Metallica, Weezer, which is a weird balance. Metallica and then
Weezer,
Yeah.
you know, commonly paired. You know, I've heard Metallica and Weezer next to each other more often than you'd probably think,
Oh, wow.
honestly. Not that they're compared, but it just happens to be that people who mention Metallica also mention Weezer.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. They're nothing alike.
It's one of those things,
They're-
definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, Metallica and Weezer, the classics.
Yeah, because back in the day, my brother was really big on Green Day, and then I was big on Weezer.
Oh, yeah,
So
the duo.
1 year, I think my parents got me, I think it was the Blue Album by Weezer, and then they got my brother American Idiot by Green Day.
Oh,
which
okay.
is such a good album.
So you guys are in a music family then? I mean,
Yes,
okay.
we love listening to all different kinds of music. And, you know, my mom, she's a real big fan of Rihanna.
Yeah, so you guys are really collecting them
Yeah.
all, huh?
It's a whole plethora of stuff. And my brother, he used to have a rap podcast where he'd listen to like rap songs and stuff like that. And he's really big, and he knows a lot of different rap artists. It's really awesome. So he's big on that. And then my dad is like alternative / classic rock everything. And then I am a little bit of everything else.
Okay, so you just collect them, the whole gang.
Yeah.
You get
So I'll listen
things
to
from
like
each
new
one.
music, or I'll listen to classic rock, or I'll listen to country, dubstep, death metal.
death metal,
I really actually have gotten to like a lot more like metalcore and harder
bat
bands.
metal. Have you heard of bat metal?
I have heard of bat metal. Bat metal is insane, but like there's a lot of like metalcore and deathcore bands that are actually like making big strides. Like this one band, Lorna Shore, their lead musician, like their lead singer, he does stuff with his voice that is just unbelievable. Like he'll do like pig squeals, and then he'll like go to something quieter. And he was actually there's this reaction channel on YouTube, and the person that runs the channel, she's like an opera singer. And what they did was they put a camera down his throat and had him do his screams to see if it actually like damages his vocal cords. And they literally found in his vocal cords something that they've never seen vocal cords do before.
That is insane.
Yeah. It's a crazy video because like literally when he does like his screams, there's like folds in his vocal cords that like shift to one side to make the sound happen. It's the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Are you trying to figure it out?
I would try to do screamo and stuff, but like my voice would always crack when I first tried it.
And I think you just kind of have to accept the bleeding throat to
Oh,
like
yeah.
make that noise
Yeah.
consistently.
And then sucking down a bunch of tea and honey.
Yeah, yeah, to repair it.
Oh, yeah.
Some people are just absolute lunatics. I don't know how they can
It's so
they can scream
impressive.
like that every day on a tournament or a show run or
show.
whatever. Yeah, it's just oh man, my voice is light and soft when it comes to singing. There's not much else I can do with that. It's really all it is. So if I tried doing that, you'd hear me crying.
Yeah.
You'd hear me whimpering is what you'd get out of my end. But
And I give so much credit to those guys because they're doing that for like an hour plus.
for an entire show, and they have to kill it each time. Like Brennan Urie of Panic at the Disco,
oh, yeah.
like he will just shriek like a wombat, and he's like, if I don't leave this show in physical pain, then I didn't do it good enough.
Exactly. And that's one of those things which is crazy.
It couldn't be me. I love music, and I'm probably gonna do some guitar at an open mic sometime soon, but I'm not gonna be busting out the the Panic at the Disco or the yeah. So it definitely is impressive though. It has its own quality of it. I am also curious about your bowling.
Yes.
And so I said the exact same thing to Vinny. I can't believe we got 2 bowlers in a row also. Couldn't throw a rock on campus and hit a bowler if I tried. But, aren't you way too young to be doing bowling? It seems so crazy. It's such a cool sport that you only do when you go with your friends to do it. You know what I mean? You only do it once every couple months, maybe.
It's so different when you do it competitively. And I bowled all 4 years of high school. It's one of the most intense fan-based things I've ever seen for a sport like that. Like, my brother played volleyball, and there'd be parents there that'd be screaming and stuff. Bowling parents, insanely, hype. Very hype.
Every time you get a good bowl, you only have 10 pop-offs that you can do.
Yeah.
Or maybe more, but you can only, you got to savor every single strike as if it were your last.
Yeah, it's crazy. There's actually a big population of younger kids, whether that be middle school, high school, college. There's a lot of people that bowl.
What do you think? What's your drawing with bowling?
So I was on a league when I was in first grade or third grade or something like that, and then I just didn't bowl after that. But then when I got into high school, I had just played baseball for 8 years before that, and I was just like, okay, well, I already do golf in the fall. I want to try to not be bored during the winter, so I tried out for bowling. Made the team, and then I eventually learned how to hook the ball and basically got fitted for my own one and then bowl tournaments and stuff like that. And the tournaments are long, very, very long.
So walk me through what a normal tournament looks like.
So in high school, it's 6 games of 5 versus 5. So we have 5 guys, they'll each bowl a game. We do that 6 times. In high school, we had a lunch break after the first 3. So we do 3 games, lunch break, 3 games. College, however, is a 2-day tournament. So on the Saturday, when we have our tournament, we do 6 games of 5-on-5 straight. There's no break. And then Sunday, we do Baker games, which is we have one guy bowl frames 1 and 6, and then 2 and 7, 3 and 8, 4 and 9, 5 and 10. And then we do that 16 times.
What? So how long are you there?
On
that second day?
Yeah. The second day is actually shorter.
Oh, wow.
Than
Okay.
the first day because we're doing 16 games. It's basically just 16 normal games. So one game is just one guy does frames 1 and 6, 2 and 7, 3 and 8, and then we just do that 16 times. So we do it in blocks of 4 against the school, and then basically how our conference did it, we did it point based. So you'd get a point if you beat a team on 5 versus 5, or if you win the block for the Baker games, you'd also get a point. So it's a big undertaking, and the Saturdays we'll wake up at 6 in the morning. We won't get back till 6 at night.
Dude, it's like
It's a long day, dude.
like
It's
dude,
insane.
that has to be part of what the test is. Like part of what the skill in bowling is just being able to bowl the same shot. I mean, you want to do like the same shot, the most consistent shot over and over again to see if your arm can take it, see if your mentality can take it, see if your body can take being there for 12 hours.
Yeah, it's a 70-30 balance between mental and physical. It's almost all mental because you get in your head a lot. When, if you have a really bad shot, then you're just like, okay, I suck at this. But college is nothing compared to the pros. The pros is ridiculous how many games they bowl for a normal tournament.
How many games do they bowl for a normal tournament?
So, any normal tournament at least is an 8-game block. 8 games in a day per person. If they're bowling something like the U.S. Open, if you're counting all of the pool play that they have, which is just like the normal bowling, and then they have match play, and then they have cashers round, all that stuff, just to make the step ladder is 60 games of bowling.
Whoa.
It's a
60
lot.
games of bowling.
60 games of bowling.
It's over 600 shots.
It's insane how much they do.
That's at least, the very least, like 650 shots. And then that's if you only strike. Dude, do these people have like humongous right arms?
Oh, dude, yeah. There's this one lefty that used to be on the tour. His left arm was twice as big as his right arm. It was insane. And like on my thumb, I have this like little callus right here. I've had this since high school. It has not gone away.
From holding the ball?
From holding the ball, yeah.
What kind of training do you do? Is there any kind of training other than bowling? Like, are there workouts you can do to like, is there workouts you could do to get like the form right and like more of a process on this kind of thing? Or is it really just...
So when we were in high school, our coach would have us take a football and like flick it up like that. And that would get us used to like how we would hook the ball. So we would get under it. And for how we bowl, we only put our fingertips in for the top as opposed to the whole hand. So basically it's more fingertip strength than anything, but like your wrist has to be strong. Your forearm has to be strong because I mean, when we're bowling, it's 15, 16 pound balls every time. So it's heavy and it's a big workout for us. But I mean, working on the form, it's a lot harder than trying to learn how to throw the ball better because sometimes the form, it can vary per person. And even pros, they have their own form all the time. So more or less the reason why I like bowling so much is because it doesn't really matter like what you do form-wise or who you are as a person. If you got game, you got game.
It's just how it is.
It is how it is.
It seems it's so deceptively intricate. Like it seems simple. Like most people when they're thinking about bowling, they just think that I can do that. Like of course I can bowl. And then they do it and they're like, God, I suck so bad. Like I'm actually so horrific at bowling.
Yeah.
And you think that it's so easy, but it's like simply putting your leg out not enough to offset your balance can just completely change the trajectory of the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, it is disturbingly like cool to hear you talking about like doing actual trainings, like flipping a football. Like you don't hear about that unless you're into bowling.
Yeah. And we would do like one-step approaches to like make sure that we got our hand underneath the ball. Or we would have practices in high school. We would just shoot corner pins. Like that's it. We wouldn't even strike. We would just shoot corner pins all day.
That's so cool.
It was a long day when we would do that. And we practiced every day, every week. So we had a lot of tournaments in high school, but like it really like seasoned us to be really good.
Well, it's nice because you can also objectively see your own progress.
Yeah.
Like you can just see score-wise how good you're doing.
Yeah.
Whereas like football and baseball, there are a lot of like, I mean, baseball a little bit more than football, but there are a lot of other variables that can kind of change that aren't really your fault. But with bowling, it's like, okay, I literally scored worse this game than last game.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I don't know, it's a whole new idea of like really PBing on yourself. Like,
Yeah.
It's a really cool.
It's a big undertaking for sure. And getting to where the point that I was now was a long process. Like I used to like hold the ball so much that when I first started, there would be a regular occurrence where the ball didn't even come off my hand because I was holding it so tight.
Like your muscle memory had taken over and you were just holding it.
Yeah, like I didn't want the ball to fall off my hand, so I would just instinctively just grab the hell out of it. And I would go and throw it, and then it would just stick to my hand.
That's dude, it's cool. I never thought I'd be interested in hearing about bowling, but I think it's so far reserved from the sports that I've done that it's so cool to hear.
Yeah,
like someone really just going nuts at bowling.
It is, and I think the biggest thing is how many technical aspects there are. Every single professional ball or like ball that you would use that actually hooks has a different core in it, most of which are asymmetrical. Some are symmetrical. The cover stock that's on the outside is different per ball. You could drill a ball differently to have it do different things. There are different materials that a bowling lane could be made out of, which is either actual wood or synthetic wood. And then there's probably at least 100 different oil patterns that you could put on a lane.
And so are these the kind of things that you're actually like accounting for? Like when you get to a place and you're like...
Every single time. Yeah.
So do you have like a cheat sheet of like, okay, so like this is what the ball is like, this is what the...
We basically, we know how certain balls move based upon how much oil there is on a lane. So when we go out and bowl, there's a lot of times where we get the oil sheet. Like we'll see how the oil looks. And so we basically base how we want to play off of that, whether we want to stand at a certain point, throw it at a certain point, and then bring a certain ball that'll like pick up. If like a pattern's really long, we want something that's really aggressive. Or if there's a really short pattern, we want something that's like not as aggressive so that it'll pick up and it won't move as much. So we don't have to move as much for that because, man, I've seen at our first tournament that we bowled, there were people that were standing so far left that they were throwing a 16-pound ball over the left gutter a third of the way down the lane to strike on the right side.
What? Because of the oil pattern?
Because the oil pattern broke down so much, everything was just moving over so much that they had to stand that far left just to compensate for that. It was insane.
Dude, you're expanding my bowling knowledge by like probably 2,000%.
Yeah.
I mean, I had no idea that. Damn.
Whoa, that was a big one.
Clip that, dude. No, you're expanding my knowledge by 2,000. I didn't know that you guys would bring the notepad and like scout out a course as if it were like cross country.
Yeah.
And like seeing like, okay, this is the kind of stuff that I'm going to internalize and change, like these micro things about the way that I'm bowling.
Oh, dude, yeah. It's a lot, and we try to like. I currently have 5 different bowling balls that I use. Each one does its own different thing. They each have like their own drilling on it to where I have my hand in, and different ones have like different cover stocks or different weights. Sometimes I have 15 or 16. Sometimes 16's more if I want to just blow the pins up. 15 pins is more if I want more control, if it's like pinpoint accurate that I have to be. But ironically, last bowling season, I witnessed a conference record be broken by this kid that bowled for Marion University. For 6 games, his pin total was 1535. That's averaging over 250 a game for 6 games.
Dang, that is consistent.
On a different oil pattern, which for that tournament was a short pattern that was 33 feet. Because they measure the oil pattern from the foul line to the head pin, and it's 60 feet. So they measure it based off of that. So that's a short pattern, and he was just slinging the whole thing. It was awesome to watch.
Wait, so are the oil patterns intentionally designed like differently for each lane so that to test your ability to adapt to the oil pattern, or is it truly an accident and you kind of look at it and be like, okay, this is the kind of pattern that we're dealing with?
Yeah, so it varies mostly per tournament. Certain lanes, there's other aspects that make them hook more. So from the bowling alley that's at my home, basically lanes will hook more on the outside of the house because of the temperature outside. So it'll actually make the lanes dry up more. So if you're bowling, like, say, lane 1, then you have to actually compensate for that because your ball is going to move more.
So, but that's like an unintentional. But
Yeah.
when people are like laying out the oil, especially when it comes to tournaments, are they like testing for adaptability and difficulty by like saying, okay, we're going to lay out this long pattern here?
Yeah.
And so they're actually like intentionally changing the way that it's oiled up.
So when we have a tournament for our year, we have at least one tournament that's long, one that's medium, and one that's short. So it'll bring out which bowlers do well on which pattern, but all across every lane, all the oil patterns are different. But we also have to compensate for the fact that there may be certain schools that are using specific balls that soak up more oil, which is a thing that actually was a big talking point in the PBA, which is the professional guys, because there's certain balls that soaked up so much oil that
Were they like creating their own lane?
they were creating their own shot. Like
That
every other person that had to bowl after them had to compensate for just what they did.
that is the most insane like ploy.
Yeah.
That's like the deflatriots, like deflating the ball so they can catch
Deflategate.
it easier.
This is Ballgate.
Deflategate. Ballgate. That is so crazy.
Yeah.
Like you see people like getting a towel and like rubbing off the oil so they can collect more. I've never heard of the intricacies of bowling oiled up lanes before. And
Yeah.
I didn't know that it was such a
It's a big production every time when you have to figure everything out.
that's kind of it adds such a huge layer. And that's I think why people have always wondered like why aren't professionals bowling 300s every single game? You know what I mean? And they're like just figure out how to do the bowl and then do it that way every time. But I
Yeah.
mean, you've kind of just answered that question of like every lane is intentionally different, and also accidentally different in a lot of cases too. And
Yeah.
it's like such intricate changes and ball changes, and there's a huge learning curve to breaking past this certain point in bowling.
Oh yeah, believe me, there's pros that go from bowling a 140 to a 250.
Yeah, what's
And
your
it's even-
average?
It's tough to really say like college-wise because it really varies a lot. Right now it's only like 150, and there's a lot of reasons for that. I mean, as our team, we only practice once a week, which is different than in high school. But when my first year out of high school, I was in a men's league at my bowling alley. There, I averaged 198, which was
Dang.
really cool.
And then you said on your questionnaire like what were you doing at your prime? Like you said somewhere around like you bowled a set that was like 200.
Yeah,
20 or something
so
ridiculous.
My highest 3-game series is 724, which is 242 average.
That's so nuts, man.
It happened to be on my birthday too.
Dude, the real birthday present is being an insane bowler.
Yeah, I had the first 9 strikes in a game, and which is the crazy thing is when someone's on the brink of a 300, everyone stops bowling, so they turn all of your focus to you. That was the most nervous I've ever been.
The pressure is
Yeah.
on,
It
dude.
is on, and I ended up not striking the next shot. I only shot at 267, but still, it's intense because you have 100 eyes behind you, and they're all watching. And also, we happened to be next to the girls' team, which was added pressure because I wanted to show off a little bit. But yeah, basically, it's nerve-wracking. It's really nerve-wracking. And there's a professional baseball player who's a really big bowler, and he says that he actually gets more nervous on the brink of a 300 than he does when he's playing in the World Series.
I think another thing though is that when you have a bunch of bowlers watching you about to perform a 300, they're looking for like what gives you the right?
Yeah.
What gives you the right to bowl a 300? And it's like you just have like
can
this
you
like
do it, not
yeah,
me, man?
yeah. It's like literally like, what is this guy doing right? And so they're like watching your foot like, okay. Like
His foot there.
yeah,
He's throwing the ball this
interesting.
way. Yeah.
Interesting. I wouldn't have done that myself, but
Yeah.
I'm not bowling a 300, so
No,
I guess.
I'm watching him bowl
yeah,
a
yeah.
300.
And so then when you get a strike, they're like, oh, thank God. You know, it's such an insane. Like you could feel the eyes on you.
Oh
like,
yeah,
watching
definitely,
that.
man.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy, dude. So then, what is your commitment now with bowling? Like, what do you do? So are you just on like the once a week, bowling team, and then how often do you guys go and do?
So we'll have practice once a week. We don't have any tournaments left for this year. They were mostly in anywhere, I think it was between October and February, like early February. We had 6 this year, and I bowled in 5 of them. And so, yeah, it's just a big undertaking for that. Just, going, and we drive a 15-passenger van. So our first tournament every year is in Green Bay. That's an 8-hour drive.
Yeah,
It sucks.
that psychs you up, I guess, man. So do you still like bowling? Like,
Oh, yeah.
Is it still like a passion of yours, like something that you're into?
I really like bowling. I feel like once I graduate, I'll definitely go get on a league or something like that.
and do something
Yeah.
recreationally. No, that's awesome. I think I'm gonna let you go on this one, but is there any plugging you want to do for like Mojo's bowling?
Yes.
Tell me what you got.
Yeah, Grandma Mojo's, we have a show every other Wednesday. Our next show is the first Wednesday after spring break. So definitely come check us out. It's at 8 p.m. in the M Shop in the Memorial Union. It's $1 at the door, and the doors open at 7:30. If you want to try improv yourself, we have an improv club that meets every Sunday at 4:07 p.m. in Carver 308. Very specific time, I know, but that's how they do it. It's a good place to learn the fundamentals of basically how improv works if you ever wanted to try it, or if you wanted to potentially become a Mojo and work on certain aspects of what improv is. It's a good place to learn about that. Otherwise, go to open mic, check that out. It's a fun place to see people do funny stuff or musical stuff too. And definitely make sure you smile every day. That's a big motivator for me doing improv, is just I like to see people smile.
Dang, that's a good line.
Yeah.
Good line. Remember to smile, guys. All right,
Always.
well, it was awesome having you on, Adam.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.